Um, I am Charlie Hudnall, and I made a book. I mean, yes, I did. I made this book. It's a real life book, but in reality, I spent 6 months diving into my poetic heritage. Um, it started out with an idea that my mom gave me of like, what if you, for your senior project, created a poetry book, which is something that I've been diving into over the past couple of years, is poetry and how that represents me. And there's also a lot of amazing women poets in my family, and I wanted to honor them and represent them. And I mean, this project has meant so much to me, and it's been an amazing experience of like reading through all these poems and collecting them and being a part of this process as the person who created it. It's really hard for me to talk about it. I can't articulate well enough how amazing this project has been for me and what it means exactly. But the way I've found to articulate it is through the Youth Initiative core values. If you don't know, my family and friends through the Zoom land, the Youth Initiative core values are leadership, service, creativity, and reverence. And they're values that we have decided at Youth Initiative to hold up and try and instill into our young students as important pieces of human beings. And so that's how I have found how to talk about this project in a succinct way that doesn't feel rambly. The first part of which is reverence, because at its core, this project has always been about reverence. Reverence for my family members, reverence for their art, just deep and utter awe of the majesty of poetry and how beautiful that can be, especially through generations. I love the fact that the generations of women in my family have created art, have created poetry, have written stories, have written a multitude of things. One of my great grandmothers wrote a book about our family, and she's also in this book, which I love and appreciate. Reverence at Youth Initiative has an internal and external showing contemplation and compassion. Of course, contemplation has been a part of this process. I've contemplated how to format it, how to represent it, how to produce it, and compassion is deeply important to me and this project. I hold so much love in my heart for everyone who gave me their work and how amazing this art is. The next piece is creativity, which feels kind of self-explanatory. It's a book of poetry and art, but art can often, when you think of it, when you think of creativity, immediately you think of 2D art or paintings or something along those lines. But my version of creativity has always been poetry and written word. And so it felt so amazing to represent that in this book, in this tiny little book that I'm very, very proud of. This is my pride and joy. The dedication, which is the internal aspect of creativity, that it took for me to decide to just work on this hour after hour, fixing the alignment, fixing the fonts, all that fun little thing, all the fun little dedicated parts of it. It's a labor of love, somewhat like beadwork, but not exactly. Leadership, which is leadership has two aspects: courage and mastery. Mastery feels similar to dedication to me. It feels like that level of what I was doing and what I was thinking about works to try and produce this book. And at the beginning, I didn't know if I was going to end up having a book by this point. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what the format was going to be. I didn't know what the cover was going to look like. I had no clues, but through this process, I have found a beginning of a mastery of one little book. Service is really important to me. Service has always been where I personally feel like I shine as a student. I like serving the community, and I do lots of projects. Service has the two aspects: the attention and duty.
This book took a lot of attention. It took a lot of like pushing myself to think about it and be present with it. And the duty aspect just, it again, I feel like I am not explaining what this means to me in the right way, because I just don't know the words. The words are escaping me, which is funny for me as a person who talks a lot. But I did have a service aspect of this project as well, being I donated my time as an editor, as a lover of written word, and essay writer, to the Youth Initiative students, and also the 8th graders at Pleasant Ridge. They had their 8th grade projects this year, and I helped edit a couple of their 8th grade papers. And then the other piece of service for this book is that all of the profits are going to this organization, Girls Inc., which is a really amazing organization that helps girls in need who find leadership training, scholarships, and a lot of other really awesome, amazing things. They're worth checking out if you want to donate to them through other means besides buying my book. I have a lot of thank yous, so here we begin with the thank yous. The first tier of thank yous goes to the women who donated work to this book. I want to take a moment to appreciate a piece of what they donated to my book. Personally, my great-grandmother Mima donated a painting that, funnily enough, has the same color palette as the cover of the book, which I think is just amazing and shows the just connection between generations, which is something that is so inspiring and beautiful. My great-grandmother Bip allowed me to use one of her poems that is in her own poetry book, which was a big inspiration for me to see her poetry book and be like, okay, I can do this. I can make a poetry book. My grandmother Nurmi, she donated several songs and poems, and her poem Beauty and Chaos that's in this book is an amazing work of just like, you feel every part of it as you read through it. It's amazing, it's wonderful. My grandmother Alana donated a song and a poem to this book, and Winter Day in Bolinas reminds me of home and heart, and yes, I love it a lot. My mother was a true inspiration to this project. She was the inspiration of this project. She had the idea and told me, okay, you can do this a lot of times, and her work in this book it makes me cry when I think about it. Not gonna cry right now, that would be bad. My aunt Ariel donated a short story that she wrote. She's an amazing author and editor, and her short story, I only have the very beginning of it in this book because it's a little book, but it is an amazing read, and it takes you through many different emotions. My aunt Maya donated a couple of her poems. Her poem Turning into Stone is in this book, and it connects the book to the earth in a way that I think is really important and beautiful, as a lot of feminine power, I feel like, comes from the earth, and that is a big part of this book. And my aunt Brianna donated a self-portrait that she did in black and white photography in double exposure, and it's gorgeous. I love it. Okay, that is the end of that tier. I want to thank all the other amazing women in my family who weren't in this book, simply because I didn't have enough space. I want to thank the men in my family. There's a lot of really awesome people in my family. I just didn't focus on them in this particular project. I want to thank Lisa Henner, who was my project mentor, who really pushed me in the beginning to think about it and just get everything out onto pieces of paper so I could organize them the way I wanted it to be organized. I want to thank Sean Lavoie, has been really helpful and inspiring. Zoe Drew King, I'm pretty sure edited one of my poems that is in this book, so I want to thank her. And Matt Voss, my advisor, and Taryn Lawler, who is my community mentor and all-around awesome person in my life. And then I want to thank Lucia Duff-Gay, who designed the cover art, which holy moly, this cover art is amazing. It made me cry the first time I saw it. It's something, and she also inspired the title, Pain and Pleasure, is the meaning behind the wild roses that are also on this cover, which is really important to me, and I love it very much. I have more thank yous. I want to thank everyone who has already bought a copy of this book. Several of you are in the audience. Thank you very much. I want to thank my class. You're all awesome, and all of you for watching. Yeah, Vicky.
Yes.
Oh, I have the book here. One of my poems or one of the other poems?
Your poem. Your poem. Yes.
Okay, I can read one of my poems. This is the last poem of the book. There are things that I look for when I'm looking for fun. There are things that I find when I'm looking for nothing. There are things that I do when I'm sad or blue. There are things that I wait for, yet never debate for. There are things I must be when I'm not really me. There are things that I know when I'm down or low. There are things that I look for, yet never find. Oh, cool, cool. John.
I think it's what is both you and Lucia. So how did you guys both design the cover? You guys just draw it or?
Lucia drew the cover.
Oh,
I
cool.
Yeah. I gave Lucia a very broad idea of, I kind of want floral something, some ocean maybe, pastel colors, and then she took that and ran with it, and it's amazing, and I love it. Something that I really love. So yes, Sean just went up front. Oh, the back cover too is also. Okay, I did. It is in the PowerPoint. Can I click to it? Well, Erica, do you have a question?
I'm just wondering where someone that hasn't already bought it would buy it.
If they want to buy it, I still have some copies left. They should contact me at hudnallrock@gmail.com. Here, I can put it in the little chat here. HUDNALLROCK@gmail.com. There it is. Yeah. Any other questions? Are there questions up here or?
People love you.
Oh, that's so nice.
Love.
Oh, how many poems are there in the book? I actually don't know. That is a good question. There are there are 2 art pieces and then a short story and several poems and a couple songs too. There a lot of both my grandmother's pieces are songs, which is really awesome. And I would encourage you to figure out your own tune for them because I can't sing them right now.
Aunt here, someone's aunt. What part of the design process did you find most difficult? And conversely, the most rewarding or fun?
Well, the part that I found the most difficult was figuring out how to format it, where pieces of poetry were going to go, where the bios were going to go, how that was all going to work out. That was definitely the most difficult part. And conversely, the most rewarding when I finally decided that I was just going to go with, I was going to go by kind of generation. It starts with my great grandmothers, then goes to my grandmothers, then goes to my mom and aunts, and then me at the end. That has definitely been, I really love the flow of that, and I think that that's one of the most rewarding parts of it. Also, just trying to figure out, another difficult part was trying to figure out where to format this. I did this all on Pages, which is not the easiest place to create a book, but definitely not the hardest. So if you're thinking about writing a book, Page is a good place to go. Oh, also, Digipod is where I self-published this book via Digipod, which is a really awesome company based in Michigan that helps people publish and has all these resources on their website about how to self-publish and what you need to do that, and copyright stuff and all that crazy things that I had no idea about. So they were really helpful for me.
Is that in the book?
It is in that copyright page. It says printed by Digipod Inc. in the United States of America.
We have a copyright?
Yes.
I wonder, you said a little bit about the earth, and I was trying to think about like, what wisdom did you actually sort of draw from this matrilineal fountain? You know, like what do you feel like you're really taking away from seeing these generations of women writing and reflecting?
I mean, I think a common theme throughout this book is kind of what the title also it captures of like, there is pain in the world and there is suffering, and that happens, and that is an important part of life, but there is also so much joy and love and light, and that's the first poem of this book is Prosperity Is by my great-grandmother Bip. And that poem just starts out with this high note of like, life is beautiful and wonderful, and we should appreciate it. And it goes, the poems go through that, and it then goes into Wishbone Blues, which is my grandmother Nermi's song, which is a little bit more of that sadness and that deep pain and suffering that can happen, and but also has hope of don't grow a wishbone when you can grow a backbone. Is the chorus of that song. So it's cool. Any other questions? Yes.
How long did the whole thing take you to put together?
Oh, well, I started in September, gathering all of the things, and the question was, how long did it take me to put it all together? And I think all in all, I have no idea how many hours I spent on this. I spent for weeks 2 to 3 hours a day working through it and trying to get everything just right, and writing bios and editing bios and all of that craziness. And so it was a lot of time and love and labor that I put into this book. I don't know how much though. Sorry. Any other questions? No? Okay, cool.